Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Story number 1, Wasps of Terra, written by Belgian rock fan.
Natty, can I ask you a question about humans?
Of course, what is it, son?
Well, you know, when a planet gets attacked by the swarm, why are it always the humans who have to clean it up? I mean, Ropal are stronger, and Asik are faster, and Afo are smarter. Humans are just not the best at anything. So, why are they always sent in?
Why are they humans, you ask? Well, you're right, they're not that special. They're not strong or tough, and compared to most other races, they are rather slow, both physically and mentally. However, they do stand out in one way. They are fearless. They are not afraid of the swarm. And do you know why?
No. Why?
It is because, and this is true, a human I met at a bar once told me this, they evolved on a planet where worse creatures than those of the swarm lived. And before you ask, how can anything be worse than the swarm, let me tell you how this human described these ferocious beasts. The humans called them wasps, tiny creatures only 0.5 inches to 2 inches long. But they are more vicious than even the biggest Prem Black in heat. Imagine this. You are on Terra, sitting in your backyard. You are basking in the sun, enjoying a cool drink. When suddenly, there is a tiny little yellow-striped bug crawling across your glass, attracted to the sweetness inside. Not knowing any better, you casually wave your paw in its direction to scare it off. Now, any reasonable bug would fly off and come back later, because it's a bug, doesn't know any better. Not so with wasps. Oh, when wasps are threatened, or when it decides it doesn't like the way you look, or because it just feels like it will attack you. And you'd think then that surely a small bug poses no threat. Wrong! A wasp is so fast and nimble, it's nearly impossible for even someone with the legendary speed of the Afo to hit it in midair. When it's done teasing you, it'll land on your limbs, if you're lucky, and stab you with its venomous stinger on its tail, repeatedly, if possible. To a wasp, it doesn't matter that you're 100 times its size, it'll still mess you up. Oh. And if you manage to hit it, or if it decides you're standing too close to their nest, which is very likely built into the walls of your home, it'll release something called pheromones. These pheromones tell every single wasp in the nest that you are dangerous and must be attacked. They don't care that you are standing right outside your home, minding your own business. They will attack you without question. Now, instead of one wasp, you've got a few hundred of the things trying their absolute hardest to murder you, and your options are pretty much limited to run and hide. The humans have been dealing with these monsters they call wasps since they became sentient, battling them with the best available weaponry. This is why humans are the ones to deal with the swarm, because they are fearless, and in a way have been training to fight this for the entirety of their existence. End of story. Story number 2. Continuity, written by Shank Cushion. It is not a deep hole. One of the enclave would stand a man-sixth of its depth and climb out easily. The advisor gave us the instruction to dig it as deep as he was tall. My scent unit and I have wondered enough about this that it has entered the irritive knowledge. Would the depth be different for a human of a different size? Human, different, threat. Experience denies this for the individual the enclave has counted. The advisor cautions that his kind are variable. The words of the advisor must be considered heavily. Human, threat, possible, but we dislike the thought. We will accept the advisor's words, apply caution when encountering further humans. It is not a deep hole. Foundational plant systems will intrude on the space. Nutrients drawn from local melon trees will increase for a time. Effects will include increased food production, time frame difficult to estimate. This is beyond this unit's activity horizon. Mark at 2 iterations minimum. 2 iterations. The advisor guided the enclave for 13. His words have created changes in the enclave that are indelible. His knowledge was vast. The length of his activity span must have contributed. By his calculation, he had to have been active for 3 iterations before he encountered the Enclave. The strangest belief, despite observation. The Enclave had learned much in the span since his discovery. The iterative knowledge calculates that the advisor's instructions is worth many more melons than he consumed, though his number is stunning and must be accounted for should the Enclave discover another human. Much of this knowledge is of great use to us. Other pieces are difficult to comprehend. Sports. Why expend such resources for no discernible return? Perplexing, as is the notion of fun which the advisor attempted to explain to my ascent units. Undertaking a task of positive emotion and enjoyment. That is why we grow methods. Productivity is happiness. We enjoy not rationing food. Somehow, this does not meet the parameters of fun. The Enclave knows that some ideas must remain human. It is not a deep hole. Far below the field level is where the chamber where my inert ascent units are lain. They are stored there, preserved in case of future need. Should a descent unit have need, it may consume a part of the ascent unit to gain fresh access to iterative memory. This is rare, but necessary. Not all is passed to descent units. Sometimes more knowledge is needed. The advisor tells us that the humans do not preserve as well as the Mirandae. Our exoskeletons is a critical factor. The humans also have strong avoidance tendencies about interspecies consumption. We will not have this access to the advisor, despite the shadow hole. Mirandae, the advisor, named us of a kind. Melonia, he named us as an enclave. Matriarch, soldier, worker, he named us by function. Melon, he named me as an individual. This identity is difficult to assimilate. This unit, indeed all units, consider the Enclave as an entity. To consider this unit measure, me, is to separate oneself from the Enclave as an entity. It is concerning. It is also intriguing. It is also depressing. Having been so named, but at the loss of the namer, do we remain Mirandae? Does Melonia continue to be our Enclave? Does this unit continue to be Melon, me? Who will name my descent units? As he approached his activity horizon, it was clear that the advisor had fatally degraded. His movements were sluggish. He moved as though he was injured, though he suffered no accidents. His back bent as if weary. Despite this pose, he carried tension throughout his body. We could all sense the chemical markers of his degradation worsened, telling us clearly the malfunctions that he was subject to. I have wondered if the advisor was aware of these, as he would always attempt to reassure the units of the Enclave that his status was acceptable. His mind remained strong, however, and his advice sound. From the time of my 3rd ascent unit, Sutmalane is what the advisor named her. We have been preparing for this. We have encoded the advisor's knowledge for future iterations, as much as we could. We've attempted to complete the tasks he advised us in, so that he could provide insight for improvements. Our preparations were good. We were still not ready. This unit found him inert. The depth of feeling thus produced was astounding, even to myself. My body produced so many slowing chemicals that I was frozen in place. As units contacted my pheromone cloud, they too were stopped in place and began to emit the same signal. Moment by moment, the effect grew until the entire Enclave was locked in place. This unit's mind struggling along with the iterative knowledge to calculate the effect on the future of the Enclave. It was difficult to do so. Each calculation was accompanied by the feeling of falling suddenly, as though a badly eroded chamber had collapsed under the unit's feet. This unit, all extent units, my ascent units, back to when the iterative knowledge becomes difficult to source. We had all known him our entire lives, and through his years we prospered. Sorrow is rare for us. It is not generally a productive emotion. In that moment, this unit felt the sorrow of every unit of the Enclave across 13 iterations. The Enclave stood frozen. A day passed in this state. The advisor's instructions were productive steps for the situation. I began to undertake them. He was wrapped in a woven plant fibers he preferred to lie under for nightly activity, and carried by his unit in another of the melon field where he was discovered, though it was not specified by whom the hole should be excavated. This unit executed the task. It was appropriate. Wherefore we lay the advisor in it. This unit will look again to the stars. The most important knowledge we have encoded from him was the knowledge of how the deep skies change the weather. Before Switzerland, the Enclave was only concerned with the ground. Now we look to the sky as well. It is perhaps the greatest change the advisor caused in us. The melons of the deep sky are aligning. Dew over dry. The rains will slack. But because of the advisor, we have water kept underground. The Enclave will not suffer. The pond fibers had slipped from the advisor's face as we carried him. I would be the last of my iterations to see it. I signed slowly to him, burning the memory deep into the irritive knowledge that my descent units would carry. We have learned much from you. This is good. In general, for the Enclave and for all of our descent. Another rush of slowing chemicals bowed my position. I could not sign for a moment. I recovered enough to continue. Thank you for your years. This unit will lay the advisor in what he'd called a grave. It is not a deep hole, but it is the one he had chosen. End of story. I just want to thank the T5 patrons and channel members. Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnolds, Australia the Dreamer, Try Again 95, Fudic Yol, Meridian 117, Elysia, Jordan Bucksborn, Angry Marine, Albarden Gusta, and Barkey. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.